Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the July 2nd, 2018 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair of the Shawnee County Commission. Joining me today is Commissioner Shelley Bueller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Bob Archer. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Madam Clerk, if we could start with our first item.
Proclamations, presentations. Number 1, recognition and approval of the appointment of Earl Ransom to the Community Corrections Advisory Board.
We had an opening for the Community Corrections Advisory Board. A member that we had work had gotten very busy and they weren't able to make the meetings, and so they chose to step down before their term ended. Mr. Ransom is a resident of Tecumseh, and he has been active in the community and working with and around this corrections area, and so I think that he would be a good appointee. And as with always, if there are members of the public that have an interest in serving on a board or want to consider maybe getting involved, always contact the commission and we'll kind of keep your name on a list, and as openings come up, contact you. So that would be a motion to approve the appointment of Earl Ransom to the Community Corrections.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
There is one item on the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk. Number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Our vouchers are totaling $3,029,561.72. The reason for that large amount is it's our quarterly allocations. Those allocations to several different agencies total $1,171,376.25. We also have payroll, $618,973.43. Our allocation, or JADO, is in there as well, $641,103.15. And under equipment fund, just of note, is $36,121.70, and that's for the purchase of radios from Motorola. But if you do not have any questions or concerns, I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Number 2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, planning. Number 1, public hearing and consider resolution number 2018-33, disapproving a conditional use permit for the purpose of establishing a reception, conference, and assembly facility on property located at 4834 Southeast 37th Street, and acknowledge receipt of a legal protest regarding the request for the conditional use permit.
Morning, Commissioners. Barry Beagle, Shawnee County Planning Department. Just give you a brief introduction with regard to this request. Dale and Jerry Parnell are seeking a conditional use permit to establish a reception, conference, and assembly facility on their 4-acre parcel located at 4834 Southeast 37th Street. The applicant's property is part of a rural area in southeast Shawnee County, and it consists of both large acreage agricultural tracts of land as well as rural residential home sites extending along township and county roadways. More immediately, the subject property is bounded on 4 sides by rural residential properties. The key feature of the applicant's proposal is the salt box barn, which occupies the eastern portion of the property. It is 100 years old and will be the focal point of event activity. As proposed, the facility would be available 7 days a week between the hours of 10 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. with no outdoor activities extending beyond 9 p.m. or dusk, whichever comes first. The applicant's proposal also includes a 28-stall parking lot. If I could along 37th Street that would provide parking in conjunction with the facility. The Planning Commission's consideration of this request this request appeared for public hearing on June 11th, 2018. No person appeared in favor of the proposal. There were 9 area residents who appeared in opposition to the proposal. After listening to all testimony, the Planning Commission recommended the proposed conditional use permit be approved by a vote of 5-1, with Commissioner McCurry dissenting. I will note that there was an error in the cover agenda item which indicated a vote of 2-4. It's actually 5-1 was the vote of the recommendation. The Planning Commission majority believed that the operating characteristics associated with the reception, conference, and assembly facility would be incompatible within the context of the immediate surrounding residential neighborhood, and therefore that's the recommendation for disapproval. I will note that protest petitions were filed within a 14-day statutory period following the Planning Commission meeting. The extent of protest did account for 28.5% of the required notification area, and since by statute it exceeds 20%, it would now require a unanimous vote of the County Commission to approve this request. So that's a brief overview of this request. Be happy to answer any questions of the Commission.
Barry, if you could, when the Planning Commission met and reviewed the application for the conditional use permit, did they go through any of the golden factors to arrive at their decision?
They received the staff report and recommendation of staff, and the staff report is based upon the golden criteria, so they did take that into consideration, yes.
Questions from Commissioner Archer?
Just make sure for the record, I think Barry said initially that this was approved by the Planning Commission by 5-1. It was
No,
actually, it was actually
disapproved.
disapproved.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
If
sure
I
that
misstated
was-
that, I apologize, but
Yeah. Maybe
sorry.
I misheard, but I wanted to make sure the record was
Correct.
clear on that.
I'm sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. And Commissioner Bueller, any questions?
Yes, just the recommendation from planning staff and from the Planning Commission was disapproval. both.
correct, correct.
Barry, before we get to any public comment or input, the protest petition, was that actually filed by the Parnells, or was that filed by the landowners that are around the Parnells?
Now, let me back up to this map here. The parcels shown in yellow are the protesting properties. They filed protest petitions with the county clerk, like I say, within the 14-day period. And the way that protests are calculated is it's by land area. So the area of the 1,000-foot notification radius surrounding the Parnell's property is calculated, and then if the extent of protest of the protesting properties amounts to 20% or more of that land area, then that would force the extraordinary majority vote. But it is the action of the surrounding property owners.
And then also, just to make sure we're all on the same page, the mechanics of this, the Parnells would file their application with planning. Planning reviews it and either approves it or disapproves it. In this case, they did not approve, they disapproved. It goes to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission reviews it and either approves it or disapproves it. And in this case, they disapproved it. And because of the protest petition, it ups the ante when it comes to the County Commission that it would require the majority unanimous decision.
Great summary.
Great. Just making sure we're all on the same page. So, any other questions?
No.
At this time, I would move to open the public hearing on the conditional use permit.
Second.
Motion made to open the public hearing by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. This is now an open public hearing on the conditional use permit. Are the Parnells present? Yes. If you could come up to the podium and state your name for the clerk, and then...
Hi, good morning. I'm Jerry Parnell. I'm the owner of the property. I have some comments to make in direction to the planning director's concerns about the property. I have them printed out. Would you like printed out copies in order to look and follow along and make notes?
If you have enough copies, make sure we give one to the clerk.
Absolutely, not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay, as Barry said, we're are proposing using our historical barn as a place to have family-focused gatherings. The comparables are Grace Farm and Wardmead Park. Both contain older historical homes located in predominantly residential areas and are being used as family event centers with great success. Both sites have similar hours and parking sizes as well. The exceptions that they are beyond 10 o'clock at night, and they allow all types of alcohol, where our proposal did not. The hours of operation, 10 to 10:30, are just available possible times. This is not a business. We both work, my husband and I. We just wanted to know that if there was somebody that wanted to rent it for an off-site from a luncheon or something, that we could be there and have it. They're just available times. It's not going to be running 12 hours a day. Sound was another issue that he addressed. We used the same standards as the City of Topeka used when determining the sound of fireworks. The 80 decibel would be monitored that we had set at the emerald green arborvitaes, which are 10 feet inside the property line on the north and 5 feet inside the property line on the east. So if there was any sound outside, we could audit it at that point. We do have an elementary school that is located 5 houses north, and during activities outside can be heard quite clearly during school days and during evening and weekend events. The 80 decibels we propose is lower than the level generated during school events. We do not anticipate any outside activities at this time. However, we wanted to set a respectable sound level for any future requests we may consider. Due to Kansas weather of extreme heat and cold as well as rain, the choice of inside activities would be a more logical choice. Additionally, we plan on the barn will have R13 insulation in the ceiling and all walls to contain the inside sound for our neighbors' comfort and the outside sound for the comfort of those in the barn. Another issue was traffic. The neighborhood traffic includes traffic from the local elementary school as well as Shawnee Heights High School, 9 months out of the year, to and from school on a daily school basis, as well as sporting events and other school events. The maximum number of cars at our event would be 28 for any scheduled event, and that would be fewer than that at most events. And it would be random times versus regularly scheduled times. While the planning director's proposal is to have more parking places based on the size of the building, we are within guidelines, and we prefer to have fewer so that we can stay a small family gathering place. There was an issue concerning the property lines. We have had 7 personal events over the past 2 years and have not had any issues with any of our guests crossing over the property line, as we have advised them of the lines ahead of time. The arborvitaes are located well within the property line and would allow for the addition of a privacy fence to further reinforce the property line on both the north and the east. While the fire department has indicated the maximum occupancy is 99, all of the inquiries we have received range in attendance from 12 to 60 approximately. We feel as though we have addressed all of the concerns raised by the planning director and the neighbors. The only issue we are unable to address is the fear of the unknown. We are the neighbors in the past who have watched over our neighbors' homes and fed their pets while they were away, attended political events as proxies when the neighbors were gone, got mail from the road, took it to the house for an elderly neighbor for a year while she was ill, allowed that elderly neighbor's family to use our dumpster when they were cleaning out her house, let neighbors that were having an auction to sell their house use the front acreage of our property during the auction to avoid any conflicts with any other neighbors. We have let neighbors use our extra entrance on Tecumseh Road to park cars for display or sale, invited neighbors to participate in garage sales when they could not have their own, allowed neighbors to place brush on our burn pile so they did not have to maintain one in their own yard, and mowed a yard for a sick neighbor until she was better. If we have been trusted for these instances, why would we not be trusted to contract responsible parties to use the barn on our property where we are the closest house to the barn? I understand the fear of the unknown. We were against the roundabout at 45th and Croco with many other people for various reasons. The county had the opportunity to put in the roundabout and prove it was not a detriment. Strangers, this is a two-way road. The neighbors may not know the people on my property. while we and other neighbors may not know the people on their property. It's difficult to determine whose strangers are the less desirable. We have a public fishing area approximately 1/2 mile down the road east on 37th Street, which brings in quite a few strangers. These fishermen have no off-street parking, and some are pretty rough looking. However, they have the opportunity to gather there and fish, and I believe that we can control the guests in our barn. The last item is property values. The value on our property went up in 2015 based on our 2014 purchase price. The next increase was not until 2018, after changing a roof line on our house, improving the exterior of the barn, including an addition, a new roof and guttering. Our property went up $7,000, and the surrounding properties went up anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. According to a local realtor we spoke to, the improvements on our property will raise our value as well as cause the area to increase. Residents around the research plant not far from us thought their property values would decrease with the addition of the plant. Our good friends live directly across from the plant. Because of age, they have recently had to sell their home. The home went on the market, sold within 24 hours for asking price. I believe that an improved, well-kept barn will help keep property values high versus a dilapidated barn sitting at the roadside. We believe we have addressed all of the issues raised by the planning director and the neighbors, and we respectfully ask the commission to approve a conditional use permit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now, before you sit down, Ms. Parnell, are there any questions?
I'm sorry.
Ms. Parnell? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Jerry. It sounds like you've been a really good neighbor to all your friends there. And I do recall reading 3 or 4 letters that were favorable to the project. But in looking at the map, everyone surrounding the property pretty much is opposed to moving forward. Why?
I think it's just the fear of the unknown. Anytime that something new comes up that people are concerned about, as I watched, we live in Shawnee Heights. I do a lot of volunteer work at Tecumseh North. A lot of the families affected by the research plant were in Tecumseh North. And when I walked into the school to do volunteer work, that was the topic of conversation. Everybody was up in arms about the plant because of the unknown, the traffic, the people, what's going to happen, how is this going to work. Even though their questions were answered, that people would try to make it as easy on them as possible, they were up in arms. I think that anytime there's something new and something different, it's difficult to give it a chance, to give it a try. So I think that is it. It's just the unknown. If they knew for sure that there would only be one event of 6 people every month, and you could guarantee that, and the cars would come in before they got home and leave before they, but you can't do that. At some point, you have to give someone the credit for being able to make intelligent, common sense decisions about what they do. Since we live on the property, it's not like we're going to another property and extending some type of a service and then stepping away from it. Literally, I walk out of my barn, it faces my house, I walk across the driveway to my home. So I don't want anyone in there that is going to be offensive to me. And anyone that has known me over the years knows that I am not that kind of a person. I'm a very common, down-home kind of person. And so I think it's just the fear factor of what they think might happen, but until you give the conditional use permit to prove that, hey, it did function well, that we can't really answer those fears. We can just give our best attempt.
If I may, Mr. Chair. But you understand your neighbor's concerns.
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think that we have addressed them appropriately.
Okay. One last question.
Certainly.
If you're going to upgrade the barn, you're going to put in a parking lot, which is going to be expensive. It seems to me you'll never make money.
Probably not.
Okay.
But the
And so I
thing-
guess my question is,
Yes.
why do it if you know you're going to spend thousands of dollars and hardly recoup what you put into it?
Our barn is something of a unique barn. There's not a nail in it. It's all put together the old-fashioned way. And it's a beautiful barn. You don't see things like this very often. It's just one of a few that's left. And I think that if we can restore it, keep it up, and share it, and people can enjoy it, that is a plus. The second thing is that it's really discouraging when you hear families don't get together because they don't have a place to meet. This would not be a large venue. It's a very small venue. But I want to encourage families to get together for reunions, get together for showers, get together for things that either people don't want to have in their own home, or that they just won't have because they don't have a facility. And there's not a lot on the southeast side of town, except for Grace Farm, that people can come together and do that. And we just want a homey atmosphere that people can come, have family gatherings, and the family is extremely important.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
At this time, if there are any individuals that are wanting to speak in favor of granting a conditional use permit, I would allow you the opportunity to address the commission. Seeing none, at this time, if there are any individuals that are wanting to speak against the granting of the conditional use permit, if you would come to the podium.
My name is Janice Haney, and we live at 3626 Southeast Tecumseh Road. We are the property that is adjoining on the north. And I don't have any prepared notes, but I agree with Jerry. She and Dale have been good neighbors. They're good people. We've had a great neighbor relationship, as we all do in that neighborhood. But when she says she feels like she has addressed our concerns, she hasn't. I don't know if she's really heard our concerns. And major one is property values. This area was zoned residential. The people that built and purchased homes out there did it for the purpose of living in a quiet setting, a country setting. Now we have an event center, we have activity. A neighbor that lives close by asked a realtor if this would affect property values. And he quoted that on the conservative side, it would affect property values 5 to 10% conservatively. That was a large amount of money for him and his property. Even one of the planning commissioners said, I wouldn't want to live next to an event center. And so there, you know, our property becomes undesirable for purchase because we have this event center. And it is going to be an increase in activity, traffic, noise. It just is going to be because we haven't had that activity there before. So, you know, for me personally, where we used to sit out on our deck and have quiet dinners, now we'll have an event closely adjoining. And anyway, I just wanted to speak up that we still have concerns. They're great neighbors. The other reason, the thing about the unknowns, is because working through this process, they had an open house. My husband and I attended the open house. We asked questions. We got answers. And it seems like through this process, every step of the way, we've gotten additional different information. So I think that does raise questions of the unknown. It's like we're hearing one thing as far as what a conditional use permit allows, then we're hearing another thing about what their intentions are, and we don't know what to believe or plan for. We just know what a conditional use permit, based on the parameters that they've given in print, can allow, and potential is there.
Thank you very much. Are there any other individuals wanting to speak against this conditional use permit?
Mark Kuhn. I live at 4827, which would be just to the south. My concerns are that a lot of the stipulations that they're saying that they're going to like have people park towards the barn, things like that. There's just so many things that they are will be trying to enforce. I think it's going to be hard to manage. You're not going to be able to keep people from parking on the street. There's a hill with the intersection. The traffic moves pretty good through there. In fact, the other day I was going to back into my driveway and Jerry was pulling out, and it surprised her because she was pulling out of the driveway. And so it is, it's kind of at a crest of a hill. There's a couple driveways there. It's, traffic-wise, it's not good. I used to do DJ work. It's very hard to control even the DJ, people want to hear the music louder, so you turn it up louder. It's, it's just the way it is. I mean, you've all been to parties and people turn around in your driveway, strange people in the area, the property values. It's just a rural place where our kids grew up and are growing up. And, we just don't want that extra added traffic, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other individuals wanting to speak against?
Hi, my name is Rocky Buznitz. My wife and I live at 4910 Southeast 37th Street, adjacent to their property. We are very concerned about protecting our equity in our home. When I contacted a real estate appraiser, I asked him what would it do to my property value. And he said it wouldn't do anything good. He wouldn't give me a dollar amount without paying him an appraisal fee, which I didn't feel like doing. But he did say it wasn't as bad as having a McDonald's there, but it's not not good. And for me, just individually, this is nothing personal, but for me, equity-wise, if I were to try to go and resell my property, that'd be a $15,000 to a $30,000 hit based upon what my realtor told me. And on the conservative side, and that's just a ton of equity for me. I've worked, really long and hard to build that up. And then the other concern is even if the Parnells are great property managers and only just very strict on this, if they ever sell their house and their property, this conditional use permit goes along with the new property owners, and who's to say, what the next people that own the property do? They may open it wide open and let all kinds of events, and they won't be necessarily as strict. So, that's our concerns in opposition for the reason for it.
Question for you. Are there any other commercial properties, or is this just residential in that? Let's go around that circle.
Yeah, going down Tecumseh Road, there is a Tecumseh South Elementary School there, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the school district or anything, but I'm very concerned with 37th Street as main artery to Shawnee Heights. Got football games, basketball games going all the time. You got events all the time down there, right? Just less than a quarter mile down the street on Tecumseh Road. And when you're having events where there potentially is alcohol consumption in prime hours, where there are people traveling back and forth in the evenings, I think that's a red flag and something to be concerned about in that area.
I guess my question was more this is entirely residential area. There are no other businesses in that area.
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else wanting to speak against? Okay. Ms. Parnell, I will allow you the opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up.
I'm shy about this, but here we go. Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Gracie Nelson. My sister Nina and I own the property at 5035 Southeast 37th Street. First, I'd like to thank the county. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak publicly and get a fair hearing from officials whom we voters have given the power to decide issues that are very important to our community and to our homes. I also had the privilege of speaking at the Planning Commission public hearing on June 11th. Since then, I have become more firmly opposed to the Parnell's application. Our property at 5035 has been part of the Nelson family farm since my grandparents, Ola and Cora, built the house at the beginning of the last century. My father, aunt, uncles, 3 sisters were born there. My mother died there in the bedroom where I woke up this morning. With the exception of one sister, they are all buried a quarter of a mile down the road at Bethel. I remember Bertie and Martin Hauer, who used to live in the Parnell's house. They weren't the original owners. I think they were the next generation. And Bertie used to let me stay in her living room when 37th Street was snowed in. And this was when I was a little kid going to grade school. So I have deep connections to that house as well. I was in the first class to go all 4 years at Shawnee Heights High School. At our first ever home football game, I was the kid in the Thunderbird mascot outfit, and we lost the game 55-0. I don't think those two things are related, but they may be. I told these stories on June 11th also, but I wanted to get across the point that the Nelsons have been part of that community for a very long time. I strongly believe that people should be able to do with their property what they want to do with it, but within limits. I also strongly believe in the safety, security, and peace of our neighborhood. I have 4 concerns. 1, traffic. There have been assurances, or there were at June 11th, but it was not repeated this morning, that traffic will increase by only 10%, but it already is a problem. Increasing it by 2 or 5 or 10% will not make it better. That's like saying, I have a weight problem and I'll solve it by gaining 10 more pounds. It just doesn't make sense. 2, there have also been assurances about parking, but who will enforce the rules consistently and over time? Who will make sure all the cars stay in the 28-stall lot and not on the road? Has there ever been any parking lot anywhere that made any community more attractive, especially in a rural setting? 3, noise. People having fun with or without alcohol make noise, and noise carries easily across the fields. Adding noise to the 24 households within the 1,000-foot radius of the proposed business is not improving the community. 4, what happens next, or the fear of the unknown, as was mentioned this morning. At the June 11th hearing, we were assured that the Parnells are responsible people who actively volunteer in the community, and of course I think that's great. But what happens if they sell their home? What about the next owners? I understand that already there's a large septic tank installed and bathrooms in the barn, and the facilities are already in place for noisy, raucous parties for the next owners, and who knows who they will be. In conclusion, by applying for a conditional use permit, the Parnells are in effect asking me to be their partner, an unwilling and unpaid partner. Their success depends on me tolerating more traffic, potentially disruptive noise, and troubling uncertainty. Now, those are harsh words, and I'm very uncomfortable saying them. It's not pleasant to be negative even when it's necessary. But no matter your final decision, I wish the Parnell family well. They have put a great deal of effort into their potential business. I ask, in the strongest terms possible, if the permit is granted, that the Parnells put an even greater effort to keep the dialogue going. Issues will arise if the permit is given. They always do in any business. I would ask that the Parnells give a solid commitment to work respectfully, in good faith, and without bitterness to resolve those issues promptly, reasonably, and fairly. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Parnell?
Okay, let's see, where do I start? The county dump truck put loose rock in my driveway when they pulled out, so Mark, that's why I kind of skidded out into the road, because my tire caught some dirt. I did see you coming, so I was able to control my car. Yes, I was not pleased with the county truck this week. Anyways, that's another story. I think that we've addressed everything that people have asked about. I think it comes down to, personally, how we are going to manage this. This is on our home. There, like I said, up the road, there's parking on the side of the road by the fishing area. We drive by that to our daughter's house all the time. They're respectful and park off the road. I don't want that in front of my house. I don't want people parking in the road. That's why I have 28. So if we are allowed to do this, we will enforce it. It is our property, and we have that right to enforce sound, where the cars park, and how the business functions. I think we have made that very clear. Yes, we do have a lateral system on the barn currently. We have 5 grandsons, and they're involved in a lot of organizations, and they've been coming to our house to have year-end parties like Charles Life and different things, and we like to accommodate them on our farm. We have a small house with 1 bathroom that had to be open to all these groups coming to our home to use, so we decided to go ahead and put facilities into our barn to accommodate these groups that come, and our church group comes out. So we want them to have an outside activity, but we want them to have facilities to use as well. So that's why those are there. That was going to be there regardless whether we get a conditional use permit or not. We are very dedicated to some community organizations, some religious organizations that we will have on our facility, and we wanted to provide for them on a personal nature. The conditional use permit was just an extension beyond, as we talked with Kathy Gilbert, the owner of Grace Farm. We said, kind of what is our next step? What should we be doing? She says, you might consider this. We had a discussion. We decided to pursue it. We would ask that if you approve it, even on a temporary basis, 2 years, to give us a trial period to try it, that would be fine. However, even if you do not approve it, we will continue to improve our barn, improve the community, help the neighbors' property taxes to stay low, their values to go high, and we will still move forward to improve our property and provide to those organizations that we're committed to.
All right.
Thank you.
Do have a question for our planning director, Mr. Beagle. Ms. Parnell brought up about her grandchildren and her church group. Even if this application is denied, would it prevent her from being able to have her church group out if they applied for a special use permit or just a small gathering that occurs? I mean, we have small gatherings that occurs at people's properties all the time for birthday parties or things of that nature. What would be the rules since we're all gathered here today?
Yeah, well, that would be the distinction. I mean, if it is at their request and they are associated with, the activity that is occurring on their property and they are part of it, then yes, it's just a function of their own family that they're doing on their property. However, if they are allowing others to utilize their property, then we have to look at, does this transition over into a special event for which permission is required for that? From what we have heard thus far, we believe that the activities that they are posting on their property are ones in which they are personally involved and therefore would not be considered a special event. But if it would get to be that point where they are allowing others, groups that they're familiar with to utilize their barn for various functions and so forth, okay, we would have to take a look at whether it's transitioning over to a special event for which a special permission would be required.
So, for instance, if Commissioner Archer contacts Ms. Parnell about hosting his birthday party there, that would then be something that she's not connected to.
Correct, and then that would not be allowed.
All
Yeah,
right. Unless a special permit application was made.
correct.
All right. Sorry, Commissioner Archer. All right.
And just for clarification, Barry, the conditional use permit does carry over to the next owner, or it does not?
Yeah,
It does.
through prior discussions not directly related to this case, we've had conversations with county counselor's office before, and basically like zoning, it runs with the land until the property owner seeks to change it or get rid of it.
Okay, thank you. And, I know, I appreciate that the Parnells used the conditional use permit process. I appreciate that they did that and didn't just start operations. But as we know, each of these circumstances, each of these issues are so different. And so, location is a big part of it. And so the Planning Commission and the staff found that it was incompatible with the surrounding residential neighborhood, and I agree with that position. So, normally we have, I think we have more approval than disapproval. Usually on conditional use permits, we have the approval and then you have conditions attached to that approval. With this, it's different. It's disapproval. So I'm going to stick with what the Planning Commission and the staff suggested to us.
So would that then be a motion to not approve the conditional use permit and close?
I would move to close the public hearing
Okay.
first, and then, yes, to adopt the resolution to disapprove.
So there's been a motion made by Commissioner Bueller to close the public hearing and to adopt the resolution not approving the conditional use permit. Is there a second? Commissioner Archer?
I'll second that. Let me add that, I appreciate and admire what the Parnells want to do. I really do. But with the neighbors, so opposed to the project. And when we get into situations like this, we do look at the golden factors. And Commissioner Bueller mentioned the recommendation of a permanent or professional planning staff, and that always means a lot to me. And since our planning staff is opposed to the CUP, I will agree with them and second the motion to disapprove the CUP.
I might also note that at the county level, we are not opposed to small businesses. We are not opposed to event centers or other endeavors, but it has to be the right fit for the right place. And I think overall, you sound like a great neighborhood, a great neighbors that all get along, and I hope that this doesn't change any of the scope of the neighborhood, but it just doesn't seem to fit exactly within that neighborhood. And so, again, does not mean that we are not for small businesses, and we are. So, as long as they fit within the right factors. And so, there's been a motion made. Second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? It passes 3-0, and so that would then resolve this issue. Our next item.
Item C, Court Administration, number 1. Consider authorization and execution of Contract C-204-2018 between Shawnee County, the 3rd Judicial District, and CASA of Shawnee County, Inc., setting out the obligations for each entity regarding specific programs.
Good morning, Charles Hydovitz, District Court. This is a 3-year contract beginning in 2018 between the court and CASA. The prior contract spelled out some roles and responsibilities that I was not party to. Upon looking at this contract, there needed to be some further delineation and strict interpretation of the responsibilities of all the parties involved. So I've undertaken that, and under separate cover, I provided you with the changes that the CASA and the court are required to make. In addition, as part of this investigation and review, it was determined that Shawnee County had to be included in this as well, because they asked the court to provide some services that we simply weren't able to provide. It was a county responsibility. I spoke to the solicitor's office about these changes, and there was no objection to them whatsoever, so that's why you have that in hand. Otherwise, we look forward to continuing that partnership with CASA.
One question I did have is on the cost shift. It notes that shift the cost from the court to CASA as they receive $54,900 from Shawnee County. Is that all the money that CASA receives is just from Shawnee County, or was the court providing any money prior to this agreement?
We were not providing them any funds whatsoever, yet they were saying that we were required to pay for some of their operating expenses, for example, postage and things of that nature. However, we've never done that in the time that I've been here. And so those dollars actually come out of the $54,900 that you provide them. So that's why it had to be clarified that's really their responsibility to fund their own postage and operating expenses.
So this does not reduce the allocation to CASA.
Has nothing to do with the dollars in the annual appropriation contract that we ratify every year.
Any questions regarding this?
I'll move to approve the contract.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Emergency Management. Number 1, consider approval of quotation to install one repeater from TBS Electronics, Inc. at a cost of $2,278 as a part of the approved EM/CIP FY 2018.
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Casteel, Operations Section Chief for Emergency Management. This will be the second repeater that we had indicated in our CIP that was approved in December that we will be putting in for the UHF subnet system for emergency management.
Any questions regarding this?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item E, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-205-2018 with Sertoma Great Topeka Duck Race Committee for the 2018 Great Topeka Duck Race event on September 15th, 2018 at Lake Shawnee.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Osborne, Parks and Recreation. Before you is the Sertoma Great Topeka Duck Race. This event's been a long-standing event out at Lake Shawnee. It takes place over in and around where our Adventure Cove will be as well, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions regarding this event?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Number 2, consider approval of a project budget in an amount of $69,679.50 from the Capital Maintenance 3R Fund for recycling trash enclosures for 9 community centers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jess Rakestraw, Parks and Rec. Just a request to implement Phase 1 of our recycling and trash enclosures, which would include the community centers, as she already stated. This is part of our CAPRA accreditation, one of the standards that we did with that, so I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Commissioner Archer.
Are these new or replacement structures?
New.
New.
Yes. Yes.
So how do we collect the trash and recyclables at this point?
Enclosures we do not have. We have trash dumpsters. Currently, we do not have recycling dumpsters, which I think is odd, but we don't have the enclosures yet that surround them.
So this is more of a beautification to the community center, kind of conceal it a little bit?
Perhaps beautification, also just the recycling phase of this has not been implemented, so this is just doing it right once we're adding to what is existing. In my opinion, I guess, if that.
Any other questions?
Move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next item.
Item F, Appraiser. Number 1, consider approval of request to advertise and fill a vacant Office Assistant 2 position at a salary including benefits of $40,072.88.
Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Bauman, County Appraiser. This is our receptionist, Office Assistant 2 position that Tomlin Robinson. She has chosen to follow a passion and somewhat in the healthcare field. You might remember that she was half of our local hero team last year, maybe by now. But I've ran this through our Audit Finance and our Human Resources departments, and asking for your approval to post and fill this position.
Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item G, Corrections. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-206-2018 with Thomson Reuters, Westlaw, for provision of legal research access to inmates for 36 months at successive annual increases of 2%, beginning at $1,065.96 a month, with funding from the Inmate Wellness Account.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. This is just an enhancement of a contract that we've had since 2011 that allows inmates to go to a law library for them to be able to do legal research on their part. that part of our accreditation, also to stay within the constitutional rights that inmates have access to the courts. A lot of times people will just say, hey, look, you have an attorney, just go that route. It goes much beyond that. That inmates do have the right to look up and obtain legal information to assist in their defense. We have used this contract for inmates to go up there. We do not, the staff will not do legal research for them. They cannot do that. But they are able to go up there and to do legal research. And trust me when I say there are some inmates that are very astute on how to look up different statutes and criminal case law and things like that. This is, again, we've had 2 terminals, but the usage with our population going up and the usage and the increase in that, we need to add 2 more terminals. This is a contract that is fully funded through the inmate wellness account, means the inmates, they pay for it themselves. This is not a budgeted item that I'm asking taxpayers to pay for. So with that, I would stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions?
No, I have none. I'll move approval of the contract.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item H, Public Works Solid Waste, number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-207-2018 with the City of Topeka for the reconstruction of Southwest Gary Ormsby Drive from U.S. Highway 75 northbound on-ramp through Southwest Innovation Parkway at a cost of $500,813, payable to the city for design, construction engineering, and contingencies, with funding from the Public Works Special Highway Improvement Account.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Vlach with Public Works and Solid Waste. The request before you, give you a little bit of background. Back when Mars was coming to town, the city annexed the Mars property into the city of Topeka. And they did that by way of what's known as an island annexation. Essentially, they skipped over some ground and annexed the portion of the property that Mars is on, and it essentially sits as an island. And as part of that annexation, they annexed up to the center line of Gary Ormsby Road. So the current situation that we have is we have the city of Topeka where the Mars plant in this area shown here is in the city on the south side of Gary Ormsby Road, and I'm talking about between Highway 75 and Topeka Boulevard. And then on the north side of Gary Ormsby Road is area maintained by Williamsport Township. And what's left is the strip of Gary Ormsby Road, of which Shawnee County has operation and maintenance experience the operation and maintenance responsibility for only the north half of that road. So as you can imagine, it's created quite a cumbersome situation for us. Well, anyway, quite a bit of semi-truck traffic utilizes Highway 75, actually uses, and then comes off 75 on their way to the Mars plant and takes Gary Ormsby to Innovation Drive for the most part, and then they access the plant that way. There is some truck traffic that uses the rest of Gary Ormsby Road, but for the time being, due to funding limitations, we are only, believe we're in a position to improve a portion of Gary Ormsby Road, and we'll look into the future to improve the remainder part from Innovation Parkway to Topeka Boulevard. But since we have a maintenance responsibility for the north half of the road, and the city of Topeka has maintenance responsibility for the south half of the road, we need to enter in some type of agreement to improve the road. So we've had some discussions with city staff, and that is what this item here is before you, is we want to join or enter into an agreement with the city of Topeka in which we would reconstruct Southwest Gary Ormsby Road from the Highway 75 off-ramp to Innovation Parkway. And that is what this agreement before you is about. As mentioned in the memo, our funding would be just over $500,000, $500,813 is what the estimate is. It's split halfway, 50-50 between the two of us. And we would recommend that we are authorized to proceed with the city of Topeka. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Tom, who originally constructed Gary Ormsby Drive?
My guess is that would have been in the county, so probably the county.
Okay. And so that was originally a county road at that time prior to the annexation. And then after the annexation, who's been maintaining Gary Hornsby Drive for de-icing and?
We've been providing the snow and ice removal for it.
I just want to make sure it was clear that, if you were going west, the county cleared the snow, and if you're going east, the city removed the snow.
Yeah, legally or technically, that's what could happen, but we don't do it that way.
Okay.
No, we are out there in the area more consistently, because that's more of our area, so we've been providing the snow and ice removal. Now, when it comes to like pothole patching and things like that, we kind of have been, just for the most part, taking care of the north half, which is, again, cumbersome, because when you split it right down the middle of the road. But we try to work together as best we can when an issue comes up. I mean, if there's a big issue, we'll be more likely to jump on it. But as far as snow and ice, we have our trucks out there. We do the whole road.
What factored into having the city do the construction as opposed to the county?
The factor is the county has no property on either side of the roadway. We've got the city on the south side, we've got Williamsport Township on the north side. We have the north half of the roadway. So we figured since the property, primarily since the property on the south side of the road is in the city, we thought it would probably be best for them to have them lead it.
I don't want to take this as disparaging the city, but it appears that we've had a pretty good track record of late with projects coming in under budget on time in the county and in management of projects. And in order for us to make sure that this would come in under budget on time, again, I don't want to disparage the city, but we've got a pretty good track record of late in managing our projects. And did that factor in at all of saying we can take the lead on this?
No, it didn't.
Well, but this was the city's plan. When they did the island annexation, they split the road.
Correct.
And I assume that our public works or county wasn't consulted on this grand scheme.
Let's put it this way, if we were, I sure don't recall.
Okay.
Because I can't imagine I wouldn't have thrown a fit about it.
Is there any way to correct this? To have one entity in charge?
On 29th Street, we have the entire roadway on 29th, and the city has up to the roadway. On Croco,
up to the right of way. Up to the right of way, yes.
Yeah.
On Croco, we maintain all of Croco, and the city has up to, and they stopped just short, so they didn't have any responsibilities.
Yeah, past practice had been where they would annex up to the right-of-way line and leave the roadway for our maintenance. I don't know how long ago, a few years ago, I believe state law changed where that was no longer allowed, where if a local entity was going to annex, they had to annex at least up to the center line of the roadway. And I think that is the reason why this was gone to the center line of the roadway.
Yeah.
But, and this is, it's not like Southwest 29th out by Urish is the same situation. We've got City of Topeka on the north, Short Improvement District on the south, Shawnee County has a roadway. That's been a past practice that's at least changing halfway to the center line of the road, but it can really make it cumbersome at times, especially when it comes to something like this, when a road truly needs to be reconstructed.
Okay.
Does the county have maintenance of Gary Hornsby all the way then going north? I mean, it's not
To
just
Topeka
that.
Boulevard.
Or to Topeka Boulevard. So we have jurisdiction of all that. It's just in this one area you're looking at doing the work, or the city is looking at doing the work.
For this next year, yes. We would like to do the entire stretch, but we just don't have the funding to do the entire stretch. So the remaining stretch would be done in subsequent years, or hopefully sooner than later, but just not next year.
Well, and as I'm sitting here, I mean, a lot of the innovation drive that goes into the park, but a lot of the improvements for the infrastructure have been paid for by Go Topeka dollars and that sort of thing. Has there been any discussion with Go Topeka?
We have not had any with them.
Has the city had any discussion with Go Topeka on?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Tom, just to ask the question, is there a possibility that we might take over the project and have the city pay us?
There's always that possibility. Yeah, I mean, it would, I mean, let's put it this way. That would be decision based amongst yourselves as a commission and the city council. But yes, there's always that, there sure is that possibility.
If your department is going to be doing from Innovation Drive to Topeka Boulevard, and you have future plans of doing from Innovation Drive to Topeka Boulevard?
Well, it would be a joint venture.
Joint venture?
Yes, because it's split halfway.
All the way up.
All the way.
Yeah.
Now, one option we thought about was trying to split it east and west, where the county would take a certain portion from Highway 75 going towards Topeka Boulevard, probably like Morrill Road, I guess, is about as close to halfway point as there is. You know, when we take full maintenance of both sides of the road for that western portion of Gary Ormsby, and potentially then the city take responsibility for the eastern half of Gary Ormsby. That would be another potential alternative.
Just a question, Tom, is this time sensitive? Can we have all of
No, I don't think it's that time sensitive. I mean, right now, we're looking at, they'd be looking at going out for requests for proposals for design services and engineering services, so.
So if we did
And
defer,
I guess I don't know where they are in the process
Okay.
of that, but that's where we are in the process right now.
so if we deferred this, can you give me an idea of what would be appropriate?
I'm just thinking about the holiday week and maybe a week from Thursday at the earliest, or 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll move to defer
To the 16th?
till the 16th in order to gather just a little bit more information. Okay.
Motion to defer any action on this item until July the 16th.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Number 2, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-208, 2018 with the Kansas Turnpike Authority, which allows the county to construct and attach a 12-foot wide pedestrian bicycle trail to the existing Southeast 29th Street KTA Bridge, with all costs associated with design and construction the responsibility of Shawnee County.
Commissioners, Tom Vlach again, Public Works and Solid Waste. This is the Public Works item. And as you know, we are intending on widening Southeast 29th Street from the KTA Bridge out towards Croco Road. And to recall our prior discussions, this could be an opportunity to connect the trail system so that we can get over the turnpike. We've been having discussions with the Kansas Turnpike Authority, and they are in agreement they would allow us to connect the pedestrian path to their bridge. But essentially, it just says that we are going to maintain the pedestrian path and provide snow removal for the bridge, which I believe we already do. And I think some minor, like if there's any like minor crack sealing or anything like on the bridge surface. It's nothing more than we pretty much do already. But this would be a formal agreement that would allow us to enter into the KTA. Now, if the bridge ever had to be replaced, the KTA bridge, which we're not anticipating for a long, long time, because they just did some major improvements on it, KTA is still responsible for the main structure of the highway bridge, the county then would be responsible for the portion of the path, portion of the bridge. So we think this is a good agreement, and we'd recommend that it be approved. Again, I do want to remind you all, we do have the budget for the roadway construction. The funding has yet to be identified for the construction of the path on the Turnpike Bridge. We are getting it designed, but the funding for the construction of it has not yet been identified.
And this would take us one step closer to connecting the Shunga Trail through Dornwood to 29th to the Lake Shawnee, which is...
Yes.
Okay. I'll move approval of the agreement with the Kansas Turnpike Authority.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Number 3, consider awarding the bid for the purchase of 3,000 tons of crushed limestone rock to Ham, Inc. for use in chip sealing of Monmouth Township roadways for a total cost of $44,250 with funding from the Monmouth Township's Roadway Fund.
Commissioners, Tom Vlach again, Public Works and Solid Waste. This too is a Public Works item. And as you're aware, we're contracted to do the maintenance of Monmouth Township's roads. One of those maintenance items is doing the chip sealing of their roadways. They utilize a limestone aggregate as opposed to a haydite aggregate that we use for our roadways. As such, then we went out for bids for the crushed limestone rock for this use. We received 2 bids, and the low bid came in from Ham Incorporated. We've utilized their material in the past. It is a quality product, and we would recommend approval of this bid to Ham. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item I, Health Department, number 1, consider request for approval to submit an application for national accreditation through the Public Health Accreditation Board at a cost of $21,000 with an annual service fee of $8,400 per year, and authorize chairman to sign the letter of support.
And for those of you that don't attend a county commission meeting regularly, at an hour, we do stand to stretch. It's part of a healthy initiative so that decrease our sedentary lifestyle. And with that healthy note, Linda, you're on.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oaks from the Health Department, very appropriate. So this morning, I am coming to talk to you a little bit about public health accreditation. This is something that we have been working on at the Health Department for a couple of years. There's been a lot of talk about accreditation with other departments. Parks and Rec just went through it. So it's our turn. We're ready to start, so we're coming to you today to ask to do that process. So what is public health accreditation? It's the measurement of a public health department's performance against a set of nationally recognized, practice-focused, and evidence-based standards. So it's, the saying is, if you've seen one health department, you've seen one health department. So this is a way we can standardize what we're doing in public health. It's recognition from a nationally recognized entity, and it's continual quality improvement. I think that's one of the most important things that comes out of public health accreditation. So how did public health accreditation start? The Centers for Disease Control in 2004 had a futures initiative where they identified that accreditation would be a key strategy in strengthening the public health infrastructure. So out of that board, out of that group, the Public Health Accreditation Board, or FAB as we call it, was formed, and the work was begun. And so just a little bit too before I talk about how it works. Public health accreditation has been around long enough. There has been some research about it. So among health departments that have been accredited for 1 year, more than 95% report that accreditation has stimulated quality and performance improvement opportunities, allowed the health department to better identify strengths and weaknesses, and stimulated greater accountability and transparency within the health department. They also saw these benefits: accountability to external stakeholders, improved management processes, competitiveness for funding opportunities, and communication with the governing entity. So we're looking forward to those benefits for us too. So this is the book. This is the standards and measures. This is what we will use during accreditation. It's heavy. There's a lot in there. And so I just wanted to give you a couple of examples of some of the standards and measures that we'll be working on. The first one, so it's divided into domains. There's 12 domains, and then the standards, and then the measures for those standards. So standard number 1 is conduct and disseminate assessments focused on population health status and public health issues facing the community. So the first measure is a community-level assessment, which would be our community health assessment. So we've already done that. We've had a couple of community health assessments since I've been at the health department, and we're getting ready to start the next one in 2019. So you'll be hearing about that. So there's 4 standards within this domain, and there's measures for each standard. So that one is one that we've already completed and we'll be doing again. The next domain I wanted to give an example to you was the maintain capacity to engage the public health governing entity. So that is you all. So yes, there's some work we'll be doing together. And one of the tasks under this, one of the measures in this domain is an orientation process for new members of the governing entity. So we are going to have a new commissioner next year. So that person gets to be the guinea pig for this. Orientation is not written yet. I'm going to be writing it. We're talking about in the leadership team how we're going to be doing that. So as I said, we've already been working on this for a couple of years. There's a lot that goes into it, as the other departments can tell you. So our accreditation coordinator is Edith Gaines. I'll have Edith stand up. So Edith has willingly volunteered for this opportunity. She's excited about doing it. I was really happy when I was reading online that the director could not be the coordinator. So good news. And so we have domain leaders for each of the 12 domains. So I'll ask the rest of the leadership team to stand up that's here today. Everybody came out today to support accreditation. So all these folks are domain leaders and a part of our leadership team. And there's Nancy Mitchell's also, who's not on the leadership team. Every staff member is assigned to a domain, so everyone in the health department is working on this effort. So the timeline is, if we get your approval today, we will be applying tomorrow. We'll be pushing that button. There is an in-person training for Edith and myself November 13th and 14th in Alexandria, Virginia. After that in-person training, they open the website where we can upload our documents. And so we have a year from that time to finish uploading our documents. My goal is July 1st of next year. My theory is we'll take as long as we have. So we're going to go for July 1st. After all the documents are submitted, the FAB board looks over the documents, gives us some feedback if we need that, and then they assign a team to come and visit, much like Parks and Rec had last week. And we'll have that on-site visit, then they will evaluate and let us know. So we will submit 261 documents total. We think we have about 70% already done. So there's still some work to do, but we're in good shape. In Kansas, there's some other health departments that are already accredited. The Johnson County Health Department is accredited. The Lawrence Douglas County Health Department, Sedgwick County, and the Kansas Department of Health and Environment are all already accredited, so we'll be joining those health departments. Riley County also just applied. They're about 3 months ahead of us. So we are asking today for you to approve the application and sign the letter of support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about accreditation.
Any questions regarding accreditation, Commissioner Archer?
The other organizations that are accredited, have you spoken to them about the benefits and the pluses that we can expect out of the process?
Informally, yes, I have spoken to the directors of both Lawrence Douglas County and Johnson County. Also been in contact with the director of Riley County because they're just a little bit ahead of us. So they've all given really positive feedback to the process. There's also, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment has a website where other health departments can put out documents as examples of what they have used. So we've used that quite a bit already. We've looked at, well, let's see what Sedgwick put out there. So that's been very helpful.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Questions?
No, I have no questions. Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item.
Administrative communications.
This is an opportunity for any department head or a member of the public to address the commission on any item of information or inquiry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby with Parks and Recreation. First of all, congratulations
Linda, and take advantage of going through this process, take advantage of all the great department heads and teamwork that we have within our resources, because you will be relying on them. So anyway, I just wanted to give a brief update. As you're aware, Wednesday is our Spirit of Kansas Festival at Lake Shawnee. Again, title sponsor is Capital Federal, and we appreciate our media sponsors with WIBW and Accumulus Radio. The event starts off early in the morning at 8 a.m. with the golf tournament and another one at 1:30. We have the car show at 9, and the Blue Festival will be starting about 10:15 to 10:30, and they'll play all the way up to the fireworks, and the fireworks begin at 10 p.m. We have a water ski contest at 6:45, I believe, in the ski cove. And also I want to take the time, Commissioner Archer mentioned last week how teamwork pulling off an event like this, but I want to thank all the people here. Nelson, Emergency Management, Sean Osborne with our department coordinated all this, but the Sheriff's Department to the City Police, AMR, Topeka Metro. Speaking of that, we do have free bus service from Ruger Park starting at 6 o'clock, and I encourage anybody and everybody to use that service. But again, it just shows you how we can come together as a community to pull off a big event, because these events just don't happen. It takes a lot of coordination. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. I want to remind everyone that our budget hearings begin on Thursday, and we will have budget hearings every Monday and Thursday through July 26th. We will start out with Thursday with Emergency Management and Helping Hands Humane Society. All of the budget hearings, we will be streaming them live. They will also be recorded, and the recordings will be available on our website. I will also post the schedule of all the hearings and the dates for those hearings on our website also.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tom Vlach, Public Works and Solid Waste. I should have done this last Thursday, but it is a holiday week, so I did want to announce the holiday schedule for our solid waste collection schedule. The good thing is there's only one day that will be affected this week. That is our Wednesday customers. Our Wednesday customers will be getting collected, picked up tomorrow on Tuesday. Everyone else, there should be no change for them. So I just wanted to point that out. Then one other thing, I did want to point this out. During the meeting today, when the item regarding the CUP was on board, we take a lot of pride in our work at Public Works, and we make enough of our own mistakes that we have to own ourselves. There was a comment made about something she wasn't happy about county workers. Just wanted to let you know that the roadway she's talking about is not a county-maintained roadway. So I wanted to point that out, because anytime something like that is said at a public meeting and it's misinformation and it affects us, we take a lot of pride in our work. I want to make sure the record is clear. So I just want to point that out, because that caught my ears when I hear that, because like I said, we take a lot of pride and we make, like I said, we make enough of our own mistakes, and we will own them, but I don't want to own anybody else's. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oaks from the Health Department. Several months ago, I came to you and asked if we could fill an epidemiologist position. We have filled that position, so I'm very happy to introduce to you Lynn Lee. She came to us from the Independence, Missouri Health Department. I'll just let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Lee. A little bit about myself. I am originally from California. I relocated to the Midwest about 9 months ago. I got my bachelor's and my master's in public health at Berkeley, and after I graduated, I managed a health center providing school-based services, primary care and dental services within a school district. And after that, I did that for a couple years, and I relocated 9 months ago, and then Since then, I've worked at the City of Independence Health Department as a public health specialist, and I'm very happy to be here. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, first off, welcome to Kansas and welcome to Topeka.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
Great to add new young professionals to our community. I'm sure you'll find the weather to be just like California. Welcome, and very glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Carol Marple. After Thursday's meeting last week, I went home and I thought about some things and looked up a few things. And I had a couple of questions about the Expo Center and the renovations. First of all, I wanted to say that I heartily agree that we do need a general contractor for this. My question was, I was wondering, we have listed construction, administration, and the soft costs projected. Are we already projecting the cost of this contractor? Has it already been estimated in this $3,165,000?
I would have to pull out the budget, quite frankly, to look at it, and I don't have that sitting in front of me, Carol.
Well, I was just curious if that was going to be an additional cost or it has already been figured. And then one thing...
Carol, I do know that from our prior discussions, again, those were estimates. One of the things that we were looking at with a construction manager is a maximum fixed price, so that we would have a very set price. If I'm looking at the county councilor who's been working on this every week.
Every week.
Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor. Yeah, if you go back and you look at the documents that were handed out, those estimates were included in that project budget information.
So it's included in this line here? It's already figured in with the construction administration?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it is
Yes.
already figured in.
Yes.
Thank you. One other question, and I consider this one to be a very important one. Have we made any kind of provision that when we let out contracts that a certain percentage will go to local contractors and/or minority firms?
We have typical is the county, we have a professional selection committee that would review. Betty, you can talk about.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I will just say that we do not have a set policy of preferential treatment for anyone, whether it be local or otherwise.
Well, then, I guess I would like to encourage that we use local contractors because they live in the county, and I think we should maybe have a provision for that to use local and minority contractors here within our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would mention, if the public has questions as they come up, they're more than welcome to write commission@snc.us. A lot of times people ask questions here, which is always good, and we need to have the public be interested and informed. But a lot of times, if you'll just write to the commissioners, we'll have answers directly for you. And it's easy to do. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Casteel, Emergency Management. As Randy Luby mentioned about the Spirit of Kansas coming up, I am going to do him a favor and keep him out of trouble by mentioning thank you to Tom Vlach. So.
Tom, I had you on the
list. We're going to see a large increase of folks traveling through and a lot of folks visiting and having fun. Right now, it looks like the high is going to be in the upper 90s. Probably won't have the extreme high heat index that we've had, so we want people to follow those precautions. Also, with the crowd and stuff going on, the see something, say something, something looks suspicious or not right, or you feel that you need to report it, you can report that to the dispatch center and have somebody take a look at it. So Hope everybody has a safe weekend, and we'll all be back here for the first budget hearing, 9 a.m. Thursday morning. Perfect timing there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Any other members of the public that want to address the commission or department heads?
Hi, my name's Steve Burrell. I live at 2731 Southeast 32nd Street. And I've just got a couple of comments about the comprehensive use plan, land use plan that's being considered. Was passed by the planning committee a couple weeks ago. The plan notes in several places that 47,000 people live outside the city and acts like that's a detrimental or bad thing. But that is their choice to live outside the city. And I don't see what the problem is there. If the population will increase, then county costs will go up, but the people in those areas will have to pay the taxes to do it. I also note that a survey was conducted and 320 responses were received, and that's in a county of 170,000 people. That 320 responses are driving this process forward. I guess what I'm saying is I think you have a problem with, well, public involvement, but also the public, the media or something not putting out to the people what's going on here. There are two other considerations of the plan that I'm not for. One is the plat exemption, the removal of the plat exemption process, where somebody can take 200 feet of land on an improved county road with 3 acres and call that a building site. Then it goes to the planning committee for approval or disapproval. Can you build there? Well, if it's in a floodplain, you can't. That's reasonable. But to summarily do away with that process, I think, is a infringement on the property owner's rights, and so I'm against that. The other one is there's 826 farms in the county, and the plan picks up on that and says that you can have a house there for the operator, and will allow you to have a house for somebody else with you. But if the farmer has 2 kids, one of them is going to be pitching a tent somewhere. So that's an infringement on personal property rights, real property rights of the property owners. And I suppose this wasn't really the venue to do this, but since I was here, I figured I may as well say something about it.
Absolutely, it is. This is an opportunity for the members of the public to weigh in. We have not yet taken up the comprehensive plan. It has been voted on by the Planning Commission, and it's working its way here. When it does get to the county, we would have notice out to the public so that they would have the opportunity to review it and come in and address the commission as to what they see in the comprehensive plan. And meeting with the county councilor, it's my understanding that we would also have the ability to remove or add or change portions of the comprehensive plan. And then finally a vote would, if there are any changes, we would most likely let the public weigh in on those, leave it for a week so that people, or till the next commission meeting, so that people would have the opportunity to review any changes we've made to the comprehensive plan before we take any action on it. And so that way there's opportunities for public engagement. By all means, though, welcome and thank you for coming up and stating
thank
yours.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Commissioner Archer, anything?
I'm excited about Spirit of Kansas coming up on Wednesday, and I don't think it's going to be as warm as it has been, so there should be good attendance. Be safe out there, be careful. I did see the new ad on WIBW for the Spirit of Kansas, and it's really good, but it's not quite as good as it was last year.
Well, Commissioner, it did only take us one take and not an hour.
That was just...
Did you have a teleprompter or not?
Yes, we did.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good job.
Commissioner Bueller,
I
anything?
don't have anything to add. Everybody enjoy your one-day holiday right in the middle of the week.
Yeah,
Be
really,
safe. Be
really.
safe.
Just to repeat, be safe with fireworks. So Commissioner Bueller, no running with sparklers. Commissioner Archer, make sure you put down the fireworks after you light them. Don't hold them in your hands. And so please exercise safety. I don't have anything additional. Our next item.
Executive sessions.
There is a need for an executive session for a period of 25 minutes relating to personnel matters of non-elected personnel, specifically department head evaluations, with no action anticipated from that executive session.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. We are in executive session.
That place in North Topeka, what's it called? I have to think about it.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, my
Everything in there is $4.99.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. That's a bargain.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Thank you. This recorder stopped working in the middle of the meeting, so I'm glad we have this one.
Great. I have a feeling this month is going to go by as quickly as June did, or if not faster.
Yes. It's just flying by. The whole summer. I had to fill in for the Sunday school on Sunday, and so I told the kids, 4th of July marks the halfway spot for your summer breaks. I hope you guys are
Yeah.
getting ready for school.
Yeah.
Made me real popular.
I bet. Noticed in the Sunday paper there were already college sales. Back to school.
I'm sure Mara's just counting down the days.
She is. She's like 48. She's ready
Senior
to go.
year?
No, she'll be a freshman in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, I didn't realize that.
She's going to
Wow.
Benedictine.
Wow.
Yeah, so she will be ready.
Wow.
Pack her bags and they have a end of, well, you move them in and all that, and then they have a mass, and then the parents are told to leave after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's your cue. So,
We have like 1 minute.
Okay.
We can do it now, though. I mean, it's up to you.
Your call. You're the clerk.
Oh, okay, let's do it.
All right. We are back from executive session. No action taken. We are adjourned.
All right, thank you.
sure.
Have a good holiday.